5 years ago, there were a few clients who were interested in diversity, and they wanted to hear your story. Today, that conversation is part of every client conversation.
Bottom line is that corporations are not going to be able to compete in the global workforce, global economy, unless they incorporate diversity into their workforce as a business imperative.
The globalization truly is occurring. Cultures are converging.
Leaders are beginning to understand and appreciate that there is a business consequence for not appreciating and valuing diversity in the way you do business.
The work changes. The work in Kenya is different from the work in New York. The work in New York is different from the work in Louisiana, which is different from the work in Germany. But the ability to create inclusive behaviors is the same, and it's the same everywhere, and that is the real challenge that faces us.
We're going to have all colors and sizes and shapes and genders and persuasions and religions at the table, because there's no monopoly on talent.
We've got to change the attitudes of people in the workplace so that, white people don't think that this African-American woman was hired because she's an African-American woman, and that African-American woman doesn't think, more importantly, that she was hired for that same reason. We have to believe we were chosen because we're the best people.
Our own diverse workforce delivers better decisions, better innovation, better performance than we would without that diversity. So it's important for us internally as a business, and it's imperative for us with our clients.
Good evening. Some Department of Public Works employees are leveling new accusations of racial discrimination tonight in the Cataract City. As News 4's Lori Schultz reports, they're asking the court to amend their lawsuit and take action.
Seeing a hanging noose in the locker room is frightening, because when you feel that you go to work and you feel that you under these type of pressure, I mean, it's frightening.
The lawsuit was taken as a joke, and the individual who wrote that sign showed it. Your lawsuit is a joke. Well, the sign wasn't a joke to me, and I'm quite sure the sign wasn't a joke to the vast majority of the city of Niagara Falls.
The suit points to a strong lack of minority workers in various city departments, despite census figures showing that African Americans make up 40% of the city's population.
Excuse me. Sorry, do you speak English?
No, I don't, sorry.
Oh. My car's broken down, and I wondered if you could tell me where to find a garage.
Yeah, well, that's wasted on me. I don't understand what you're saying.
You don't speak any English at all?
Not a word, no. It's one of those things where I wish I paid more attention in school, but, excuse me, sorry. Do you speak any English?
English? No. What's the problem?
I don't know, I can't understand it.
Hi, my car's broken down, and I need to find a garage.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that at all.
All right, well, thanks.
Tell you what, if you go down that way, about half a mile, there's a village. There might be somebody there that speaks English.
Ich speak ein bisschen Deutsch. Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Deutsch, nein. Sprichst du Deutsch?
Deutsch? Nein. Nun, ein oder zwei Wörter, aber ich bin nicht fließend.
I'm sorry, could you more help?
Yeah, sorry about that. Hey, you never know. Next time you're over, maybe we'll have learned a bit of English for you.
Ja, oder Deutsch vielleicht.
Ja, das wäre toll.
Thanks, Emily.
I can speak English.
So can I.
Disabled people are entitled to equal rights to access to business establishments and employment. In California, building owners, hotels, restaurants, and commercial establishments, as well as employers, have an obligation to remove the physical barriers that prohibit employees or customers from exercising the same benefits in facilities. Ramps must be put in place, elevators, widened doorways, and ADA bathrooms so that disabled people do not get treated as second-class citizens. In the employment realm, disabled people have the rights to opportunity and access to employment. Now, who's disabled under the law? It's someone who is limited in one or more major life activities who is otherwise qualified to perform the essential functions of a job. For example, age discrimination happens every day here in California, especially when some of these younger .com hip, video, computer generation. They want the freshest face just out of college. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the most qualified person for the job. There's much to be said about age and experience and having the knowledge that comes with having worked in a field for a number of years. In California, if you are over the age of 40, you are considered to be in a protected class. That is where the age discrimination line is drawn. If you are terminated and you're over 40 and you are replaced by someone under 40, that is what we call a prima facie case of discrimination. That means on its face, it looks bad. The employer then must demonstrate that there is some legitimate, good faith business reason other than age that prompted them to undertake that action.
What's great about working for IBM is that I can feel open when I come to work. It's an authentic place, and I'm supported by my friends and colleagues, and even the president and the senior leadership team. I can reach my full potential here. I'm part of an invisible minority group, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, GLBT. And what's unique about this group is that it's represented in all other diversity network groups. And when working with people from our constituency group, it's important not to make assumptions, because 6 to 8% of the time, you may make an incorrect one. For example, when asking about someone's relationship status, consider using the word partner, as it's more inclusive and will make the person feel more comfortable.
And I got to tell you, I always thought it was a fascinating piece of art, but I didn't realize that it was actually a church with a steeple going down into hell. And so for other people, they were bringing up the notion that this is, if not controversial, they actually consider it a bit blasphemous for Christians. And it was one of the reasons why the park board decided to remove it. When we think about religion in the workplace, there's lots of times where someone will say, what's the big deal? Well, it might not be a big deal to you, but if it's someone else because they're Christian, or someone because they're Buddhist, or they're Muslim, or Hindu, or of other faiths, then they might be saying, I understand that this is very important to me. What we need to do when we think about religion in the workplace is realize that there's some things that are going to be very important to people. Make sure you're not doing or saying anything that's going to be blasphemous or is going to be insensitive to the other people. By the way, there's something interesting about this. As much as it's coming down, it was actually supposed to be a temporary piece of art that was here. So the park board is really just deciding not to make it permanent, and I think that was kind of lost in the whole equation. When you think about your workplace, and you think about the things that are important to other people, give thought, how important is it for them, and how important is it for other people if you either don't do something or you do something in favor of a person that would help out their religion.
2007, is it the gender that causes this gap, really, or is it somehow the position?
Well, you know, no one really knows the answer to that question. I think there's a lot of factors. I think there's a lot of stereotypes still prevalent out there about women and men. I think there's societal and cultural pressures on women to behave in certain ways, and they're brought up not to be pushy or whatever, and I think that still persists a little bit even in this day and time. And I think companies really don't understand oftentimes why they're paying certain people the way they do. Right. And so there are a lot of factors that contribute to that.
But also, Alan, I don't know if you would agree or not, the Supreme Court recently, major setback perceived to be against women in this case.
I think it's a very unfortunate decision. It limits women to 300 days of their pay, essentially, in being able to go back. And I think the interesting part about that is what the Supreme Court is in essence saying is that companies, if you don't pay men or women the same as men, you pay them less. You don't even have to pay them a year's back wages for that. They're limited 300 days. And I just think it's very, very unfortunate.